There's not a quarterback that's going to go out and necessarily win games for you, but he's a guy that I like to bet on. He plays with a chip on his shoulder, and he played very well last week against Houston. I think we're going to see him build off that success. Mike Evans got involved a little bit, but Chris Godwin was very good. This team has the talent to go out and make plays. Rachaad White had a breakout game last week. Their biggest issue is their offensive line, and it is a little bit of a concern against such a very good Tennessee Titans front seven. But the way to beat Tennessee is by throwing the ball downfield. So I would lean over on Baker props. I would lean over on receiver props for Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, just because the Tennessee Titans do rank 27th in defensive passer rating, according to coldhardfootballfacts.com. They are 12th in defensive rusher rating, so a little bit better there. Maybe lean over on Rachaad White receiving props. But from a side, I love the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at -1 here. I think it's a great bounce back spot. I think we're going to see them do some things to confuse Will Levis in this game, get to him, and then find a way to win it at home. Well, first things first, I saw a little rumor circulating from the Boston Globe this week that the Patriots were potentially going to move on from Bill Belichick if he didn't win this game. That is the craziest thing I've ever heard. That's disrespectful.
Agreed.
If he does come back next season, I wouldn't be surprised, but they're not getting rid of him if he loses this football game.
They're not leaving him in the Germany tarmac, that's for sure.
No, that's obvious. But from what we see from these international games, teams don't necessarily come out with their full energy, right? I think we're going to see a low-scoring defensive battle here, which is probably what we've expected from the Patriots now without much of a quarterback. But I do like Ezekiel Elliott here to go over 28.5 rushing yards. Elliott's been the second back to Ramondre Stevenson, but when you look at the carries, it's kind of wild. Stevenson hasn't really had more than 9 or 10 carries a week. He's kind of been in that range, and Ezekiel Elliott's been like that 7 to 8 range. And you're getting his line for 20 yards lower than you're getting Ramondre Stevenson. And from what we've seen from the Patriots, they really like giving Elliott the football. 2 weeks ago against Miami, 7 carries for 36 yards. He had 30-plus yards for 3 of the past 5 games. So he has been producing from the running back position as a secondary guy there. So I'm going to lean over on his total at 28.5 here against the Indianapolis Colts. I think he's going to get plenty of carries here. Stevenson has been more that pass-catching back, and then as Elliott's been that guy that can drop the hammer as the secondary option there. So going to go with him for 28.5. It seems like it has a very good chance to with Antonio Pierce as the head coach. I mean, from what everyone's saying, like Josh McDaniels was terrible to play for. He was a nightmare. So that's a little surprising to see, going off the Josh McDaniels days when he was an OC in New England. I'm a big Josh McDaniels guy, but Max Crosby is not. And they're playing like it now with Antonio Pierce. They're playing like they really didn't like their head coach. I look at this Raiders team. Aiden O'Connell's under center, and I don't like Aiden O'Connell, but it's kind of pick your poison here between the quarterbacks with him and Zach Wilson. Robert Saleh was asked this week in a press conference, why are you starting Zach Wilson? Like, what's your reasoning for it? He's like, I plead the fifth. He didn't answer the question. So that doesn't necessarily give the quarterback confidence. It doesn't give me any confidence to bet in the New York Jets here. The Jets have a great defense. They really do. But offensively, I don't know if they're going to be able to score. The Raiders, I trust Aiden O'Connell to throw the ball a little bit more with the options he has down the field, like Devontae Adams. And then also we're going to see a heavy dose of Josh Jacobs in this game. Jacobs could go upwards of 25 carries in this one just because he has to against this New York Jets defense, because O'Connell's really going to struggle through the air. But I think the way the defense is playing for the Raiders, based on what they did last week against the Giants, now Tommy DeVito is not as good as Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson's better than Tommy DeVito. But I still like the Raiders in this spot. I think they're going to be able to shut down the Jets offense, find a way to win this game. Max Crosby is going to come up big. I think we're going to see a heavy dose from Josh Jacobs, and they get it done at home. I don't like going under on player props. I really don't. And that's just because of the fan in me, right? We like watching players do well, but I have no choice here with Austin Eckler. Go under 48.5 rushing yards. He has not hit this in 4 straight games. In the 5 games he's played in, he's only hit it 1 time. He had 16 carries for 117 yards against the Dolphins at the beginning of the season. And that was when we thought the Dolphins were a legitimate team, but they're not. They're not good on defense. So I don't really get behind this 117 yards too much. He had 47 against the Jets, 29 against the Bears, 45 against the Chiefs, and 27 against the Cowboys. And you're giving me 48.5 this week against the Lions defense. It's been fantastic against the run. This front 7 has been great with Aiden Hutchinson leading the way, and they have shut down opposing running backs. I think we're going to see the same thing from from them this week against Eckler. And when the Chargers do run the ball well, it's usually with Joshua Kelly doing it. He's the guy that's the better runner of the two this season, at least. He's gone over, he's had a better yards per carry average in the past 3 weeks than Eckler has when he gets his opportunities here. So when they run the football, it tends to be Kelly doing it well. When they're throwing the ball, running backs out of the backfield, it's Eckler. So I'm going to lean under on this 48.5. This is an easy play for me. Going to lay the points here with the San Francisco 49ers. It scares me a little bit, but Jacksonville's been good. They've been great on defense. They haven't been super efficient on offense. They're finding ways to win and coming alive late in games. But we got to throw the stats out in this one. This is a throw the stats out kind of game and talk about who needs this game, who is desperate for a win. You talk about desperation in this spot. It is the San Francisco 49ers losing 3 straight games, going into their bye week, sitting with that feeling for a week, now going to Jacksonville to face the Jaguars. Kyle Shanahan's team needs to win this game. That's the bottom line here, and that's the biggest reason to take them in this spot. If you want some statistical reasons, Brock Purdy was very good before his concussion. I'm not saying he's the guy that's going to lead the 49ers to the promised land, but he's a guy that can play football. I think he can be efficient. He can be a game manager here. We're going to see a big dose of Christian McCaffrey. Now Chase Young makes this 49ers front seven a lot more talented than they already were. And they need to shut down Trevor Lawrence. If they can find a way to neutralize his game, I think they come into this one and find a way to win.